All right, so we're gonna meet a hero, but I want you to forget everything you think a hero is. No capes, no crowns, none of that. Because according to the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard, the greatest hero you could ever imagine is the most ordinary person in the world. When Kierkegaard finally imagines meeting this heroic figure, his reaction is, well, it's pretty underwhelming. He's actually confused. He's thinking, wait a minute, this is the guy? He looks just like a tax collector. There is absolutely nothing special about him. And that's the big question we're going to unpack. What on earth did Kierkegaard see in this stunningly average person that made him a marvel? What kind of secret spiritual power could possibly be hiding behind such a totally normal exterior? Kierkegaard calls this person the Knight of Faith, and as he describes him, the hero only seems to get more ordinary. It's not just that he's indistinguishable from a common citizen, he is one, a bourgeois Philistine who just genuinely loves the simple stuff in life. I mean, this is not some monk who denies the world. No way. This guy enjoys a nice walk, he looks forward to a hot dinner, he sings hymns in church with real gusto, not because he's trying to be pious, but because he just has a good set of lungs. There's no telltale sign, no little crack that gives away his inner life. He is, as Kierkegaard puts it, solid all the way through. So to really crack the code on this tax collector hero, we need a point of contrast. We have to meet his spiritual counterpart first, a character who is, let's just say, a whole lot easier to spot in a crowd. So let's meet the Knight of Infinite Resignation. Now, this figure is impressive. He's spiritual, and he's everything the Knight of Faith is not, at least on the surface. He represents a really crucial first step on the spiritual path, but as we're about to see, it's an incomplete one. Okay, so the Knight of Resignation pulls off this incredible spiritual feat. He makes what Kierkegaard calls a mighty trampoline leap, basically renouncing everything he loves in this finite world. Everything. In exchange, he gets his eternal consciousness. He finds his profound peace in the infinite. But the price is huge. He becomes an alien in this world, never really feeling at home here, ever again. And this right here is the key difference. Unlike our hero, you can spot a Knight of Resignation. Their walk is light and bold because they aren't fully weighed down by the world anymore. They carry this visible mark of their spiritual journey for everyone to see. Now, to truly get what separates these two knights, Kierkegaard sends us to the ultimate story of faith, the biblical ordeal of Abraham being commanded by God to sacrifice his own son, Isaac. I mean, the command is just unthinkable. It's not just a difficult choice, it's a full-blown paradox. It violates the most basic and universal ethical duty that exists, the love a parent has for their child. And Abraham can't explain it to anyone. He travels in silence, completely alone with this awful secret. Kierkegaard draws a very sharp line here. A tragic hero, say a king who sacrifices his daughter to save his nation, makes a terrible choice, but it's one we can understand. He sacrifices one ethical duty for a higher ethical duty. We can explain it, we can justify it within a moral framework we all share. But Abraham, he has no justification like that. His act is a purely private endeavor between him and God. He is completely alone, beyond our understanding. This brings us right to the terrifying heart of it all. Before the angel stays his hand, before the happy ending, what is Abraham? If we judge him by our shared ethical rules, by the universal law, for every single second he is on that mountain, he is a murderer. The only thing that could possibly make him anything else is faith. So, how do we make sense of this? Well, Kierkegaard gives us a philosophical key, a concept that pretty much unlocks the entire paradox of what Abraham did. First, you have the ethical. Just think of this as the public, universal rule book that society runs on. It applies to everyone, everywhere. It says stuff like, thou shalt not kill, and, especially, a father must protect his son. Next, we've got telos. It's a Greek word, and it just means an ultimate purpose or an end goal that's guiding an action. So you put those two together, and you get Kierkegaard's crucial concept, the teleological suspension of the ethical. I know, it's a mouthful. But all it means is that an individual temporarily suspends the universal ethical rules, and they do it for a higher purpose, a telos, that exists completely outside that shared moral framework. And right there is the explosive paradox of faith. It's the claim that a single individual, in their direct relationship with God, can be higher than the universal moral law. Abraham's absolute duty to God became his telos. For that purpose, he suspended his ethical duty to Isaac.
This wasn't immoral, it was in a different category entirely. This is what saves him from being a murderer and makes him the father of faith.
Okay, so now that we're armed with all this, the night of resignation, Abraham's ordeal, and this idea of suspending the ethical, we can finally go back to our ordinary hero and understand the marvel that he represents. The Knight of Faith does everything the Knight of Resignation does. He makes that same mighty leap, that infinite resignation of everything he holds dear. But then he performs a second paradoxical movement. By virtue of the absurd, he gets it all back. Just as Abraham got Isaac back, the Knight of Faith regains the finite world and lives in it with complete and total joy. This is why he looks like a tax collector, because he is fully and happily at home in the world. This is the secret. It's a double movement. First, he renounces everything, draining the cup of life's sadness to the very bottom. But then, through faith, he receives it all back and delights in it more than anyone else possibly could. His enjoyment of a simple walk isn't naive, it's profound, because he knows what it's like to have given it up entirely and then received it back as a gift. So, while this double movement might sound impossibly difficult, Kierkegaard insists it's not some exclusive club. It doesn't require you to be a genius or a saint. All it requires is passion. Faith, he says, is the highest and most difficult human passion, but it's a possibility that is open to every single one of us. And yet, here's the final, haunting thought. Kierkegaard himself admits that he could describe this knight, he could admire him, but he could not become him. He says he searched his entire life for a real-life example and never found one. So the question that leaves us with is, if this is the pinnacle of human existence, what does it mean that it's so rare it seems impossible? And in a world that always wants to go further than faith, have we lost the ability to even recognize the sublime hiding in the pedestrian?